Hi, this is the first video in a series of videos detailing the story of my expulsion from Columbia University for false accusations of the rape of my best friend and first love. First, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen and learn from my mistakes, the mistakes of the Columbia community, and the utterly amoral mistakes of Columbia's Office of Gender-Based Misconduct. However, I would prefer for you to see the introduction video which precedes this video on the playlist. If nothing else, I just want people to hear what I say on that one. But if you are actually interested in hearing both that and the full backstory, as well as the evidence associated with it, you would be that much better equipped to participate in your role as my juror. This whole series of videos is meant to be used as a testimony of sorts in my case in the court of public opinion. All I ask is that you use it to determine for yourselves what kind of person I am. If you have any questions about the material at all, you can ask me any relevant question in the YouTube comments or text it to me if you'd like. You can do this completely anonymously or say whatever you'd like to me, however defamatory, as long as you say it to me only. But between the dates of September 6th and October 6th, I will be answering any question I can with the wholehearted truth. Anything that I say to anyone in any of these communications can be used against me in any legal proceedings. I'm just confident that I've committed no crime, and so all I have to do is tell you the truth. No matter what you may think of me, ultimately, I intend to find a way to fix Colombia's corrupt system to end these mishandlings of cases of sexual assault. Then we can find a way to finally minimize sexual assault and false accusations on campuses so that everyone feels safer. I just need to plan my moves according to whether or not I have your trust by the end of the month or not. Anyway, let's begin the story. I'm going to attempt to summarize the first 2 years with my best friend in college, the fall 2011 semesters straight through the spring 2013 semester in about, 10 to 15 minutes. I think this is the shortest video of the bunch, so forgive me if I move quickly. I want to start with the day that I met the complainant, which is September 8th, 2011, if I'm not mistaken. In the John Jay cafeteria of Columbia, my roommate invites me to sit with his new friends, and one of them just happens to be a floor mate of the friend group that I made in the first week of Columbia. And that floor mate turned out to be my very best friend. And at that point, I didn't know that I'd fall hopelessly in love with her. She was an Asian woman who definitely had some attractive features, but I definitely didn't take a second glance at her. And we introduced ourselves to each other. We broke ice with some of the worst kinds of icebreakers. What was it? Like, I know one of them was like we'd ask whether or not we went to Columbia College or the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, C's for short, or we'd ask which dormitory we lived in. And honestly, that was the extent of our first interaction. I'm sorry if that's a little anticlimactic, but I just want to drive home the fact that I just did not think that this woman was particularly prepossessing at all at first. It was our second interaction that was much more meaningful, and it convinced me that there is something very unique and beautiful about relationships between musicians. So I mentioned that my best friend was like the floor mate of that friend group that I made in the first week of college. Well, she invited us all to do touristy things in Times Square because she hasn't lived in the city before. And then we started talking about music, and things just took off from there. Like, we discussed showing each other our instruments, playing together, our respective repertoires, etc., etc. And I could already tell from the profundity with which she discussed music that this woman's skills eclipsed mine in every way. But I loved how she looked at me as if I were her total equal. She was the first musician at Columbia that acknowledged me, even though like my skills were so subpar. She kept reminding me that I had tremendous potential. Anyway, we continued our walk in Midtown, and we eventually depart from the others and make like we had to go and make a withdrawal from the bank. And when we walk into the bank, there's an automatic door, and it makes this tone, like it's the one that alerts everyone inside that someone's entering or exiting. Like as soon as we heard it, it goes like, hmm, and then right afterwards, immediately afterwards, both of us simultaneously go, G. Actually, I think I'm flat. But the point is, like, we both say, we both like, hummed, no, we set the notes at the exact same time. And I've never done anything like this with anyone before in my life. So, like, I knew, and she agreed that she knew that we were going to be best friends right from that moment. Though for me, it may have been a bit different because right from then, I'm pretty sure that I was falling for her, but I wouldn't admit it to myself at the time. Anyway, it was from that day forward, from that moment in the bank forward, that we just became inseparable. We talked incessantly, like 6 to 8 hours at a time, several times a week. We text each other for hours. We practiced our instrument for hours as well. My skills improved markedly during that time. I won't reveal her instrument because I believe I've actually given away too many hints to her identity as it is, so I will just have to withhold that amount of information. But like you've noticed, I think by now that I am like trying to start a YouTube channel of cello covers of songs that I really, really, really love. I'm actually currently trying to finish up like my Pocahontas covers for as a promise that I made to my best friend from home. But the channel actually wasn't my idea at all. It was the complainants. It was the idea of my best friend from college, the one who's making these allegations against me. She said that she wanted to do these covers together, and she was so much more talented than me that I hesitated at first. I thought I'd just hold her back. I actually refused several times, but she kept pushing me, telling me that I should do it. It would be like a dream come true for us, and she would help me to improve in any like area that she could. She basically became the private cello teacher that I never had. Had all of this not happened, you actually may have been able to see what we were planning to produce together. It was really amazing, all of our plans. Anyway, I digress. This was like her faith in me was the most cardinal theme of our relationship. She had so much confidence in me, and she made me feel like I was amazing at every chance that she got. And this was at a time where I was completely lacking in confidence. When I first came to Colombia, I was so inundated by all of the intelligence and all the talent that I was surrounded by there that I thought that I amounted to absolutely nothing. But she was the one, and she was the only one who kept reminding me of how I could still become an MD PhD and how I would be this absolutely incredible cellist as soon as I got lessons and as soon as I put in the hours, etc., etc. And I just kept asking myself, why on earth this woman would choose to spend so much time with someone who even thought himself was a loser. And she would tell me later in senior year, actually, that the reason that she gave me a chance was because she wanted somebody to give her a chance, that she had often been misunderstood throughout her life, and that I had always been making consistent efforts to understand her. And trust me, there's nothing truer than that. You'll see later in in this series of videos that this woman was quite the enigma, and but it did not stop me from fiercely making every effort to advocate for her and try to understand her, and so I could be more compassionate towards her. But and because of these efforts, we were actually becoming a lot closer, like worlds closer than anything I could have imagined. She alleviated so much of the insecurity that I had about myself. She was the one person that mitigated all of my like self-doubt, and she honestly saved my college experience. In part, my success in college was due to her. And I know that sounds really ironic considering all of the allegations against me, but try to remember that that is at the very end of my college career, and it came completely out of nowhere. Prior to that, there was tremendous love. But even amid all of that love, there was one singular problem in our entire relationship. And that was that while I was, in the traditional sense, in love with her, she wasn't in love with me. God, I can't even really explain it well. But the point is, she didn't love me in the exact same way that I loved her. even though she would often say that it was of a similar magnitude to like the degree to which she loved me. I was under the impression that this was like a typical friend zoning at first. I didn't even tell her about my feelings for her for the entire freshman year because I was so scared of losing what we had. But I did slip up in our second year, our sophomore year, and when she knew that I did want things to be more romantic between us, that was when our problems began. We still, don't get me wrong, we still loved spending time with each other, like, and we would gravitate towards each other whenever we were apart for really more than a day. But we knew that like staying with each other was often strengthening our emotions for each other, and thus also strengthening our very at the time incompatible ways of like loving each other. I wanted a traditional relationship, you know, the one where you could kiss and sleep with and shower your partner with gifts and hold her hand everywhere, etc., etc., like I've had with any other girlfriend. But she just told me that she wanted to maintain all the emotional intimacy, just none of like the romance or the physical intimacy at all. It was very confusing. When I would talk about how hard like this was for me, she and how I would always tell her that it was really painful for me and that she'll never ever love me as much as I love her, she would tell me all the time. It hurts for her to hear me say that because she would often do everything that she could to convince me that she loved me as much as I loved her, just differently, and that I didn't understand how she truly felt about me. She would tell me that she wants to give me the relationship that I want, but she knows that she can't really. You know, and it was because of this that we actually thought that she may just be an aromantic asexual at first. I mean, because she's never been able to do this or feel the way that I feel about her for anyone in her life. Whatever the case, it was a roller coaster of emotions, and it was the reason that I spent so much time crying throughout my sophomore year. It was enough to split us up in our like for the entirety of our spring 2013 semester, which is like the second semester of our sophomore year. In other words, our fourth semester. And that was how I knew at the end of my senior year when I got the accusations that something was horribly wrong with my friend. The accusations say that I had been sexually assaulting her from the beginning of our freshman year, fall 2011, all the way through our senior year. But like I said, we never even so much as shared a kiss in those semesters. If I remember, it frustrated the ever loving hell out of me. And we argued about it several times. Again, perhaps Apple or Facebook will actually give me some of the messages that I asked for, and hopefully I can show you just how much, among all of the love that we have for each other, that like were a lot of confusing elements about it. And the thing is, even though it wasn't the relationship that I wanted with her, it was still love, and that was unquestionable. And if I had to give up on the idea of us ever being anything more than just best friends, I was willing to do so in order to maintain that love. So, as I mentioned, we separated for all of our fourth semester, which was the spring 2013 semester, but we reunited in summer of 2013, and from there, things started to improve tremendously. Like we've said several times that we're the closest people that we know that we have to each other, that we are closer to each other than, and we have more emotional intimacy with each other than anyone else in our respective lives. But even with that, we just kept improving and growing closer and closer and closer in this period, especially summer of 2013. I knew that the best way to maintain this, I loved every second of it. I knew that the best way to maintain this was just to never ask for anything more than a completely platonic, albeit very emotionally intimate relationship. Things got so much better after I gave up on what I wanted for us. But something changed in the beginning of 2000, I'm sorry, of fall 2013 semester, which is the first semester of our junior year now. All of a sudden, I was having the sex life that with my best friend that I always wanted. I'm going to give you all the details in the next video, but thank you very much for watching so far. This is the easiest video to make, and it's also the shortest one, and that's because all the real stuff is yet to come. I hope that I haven't confused you too much already, because honestly, if you are having trouble understanding this, you're going to struggle with what's coming. I really hope that some of you will still endeavor to understand me as I have tried to understand the complainant. Thank you. Again, I hope I will see you in part two.